we started out where the plan was originally like pure SaaS. Like we were going to open source everything and then we were going to run it for you as a SaaS platform, and everybody was going to do hosted configuration management in the cloud, because why would you ever want to run any of that stuff not in SaaS? We were just wicked early, like crazy too early to have people make that leap. And so it took a couple of years for us to finally get the message that the market was telling us that like you couldn't really do that.
Yeah.
And so then we shifted to more open core. So we had like a variant of the open source server that was what we ran for our SaaS. And we turned that into a commercial piece of software that we sold for money that had different features. So it had multi-tenancy and some other stuff. Then that eventually also was open sourced. And there was another platform that was more focused on like analytics and some other stuff. And then we bought another product called Inspec that was also open source. And then we rolled some compliance stuff on top of that. And then we did some continuous delivery stuff. And then we did some application deployment stuff. And, all that stuff was some mix or another of open source and free. And then in the end, what we learned was that we could just never get the mix right. And you kind of couldn't win for losing, like you'd open source something and everybody was thankful, but then the people who were paying you only because of that one feature wanted to stop paying you. Or I would put something in the commercial bag and people would be like, you guys are like not true open source Scotsmen, Mm-hmm. Like if you were real open source Scotsmen, that'd be free, you bastards.
Right.
And it's just like, no matter where I turned, there was somebody who was mad at me. It was or was giving me the finger because they weren't going to pay me for my product. And so in the end, we wound up doing a lot of research and a lot of like soul searching, which was kind of tied to my leaving Chef too, sort of just in timing. But Chef changed its business model to being like Red Hat. So it was completely open source. And what they do is they take every piece of software they build is open source, and the product, Chef itself, if you want it, you have to pay Chef money for it. And if you want it from somebody else, you can go get it. There's a lovely open source project. It's called Sync. And those guys repackage the software and they call it Sync. And you can have it as open source for $0, or you can buy it from Chef. That's the short version of Chef in open source history.